devices will give us the best education and the best health care for free, right? So, yes, you can be scared about it. Listen, the world is always changing. If you try and keep it from changing, change is scary. If you say, no, the change is making the world better at an extraordinary rate, and how do we provide, listen, I'm an engineer, and I look at the boundary conditions of where we're going. And the boundary condition eventually for all of this is everything is free and available to everyone. At the end of the day, I have a nanobot, I have access to huge amounts of energy and open information sets, and I can manufacture whatever I want. This is where we're heading. We're heading towards a post-capitalist society. I'm a capitalist entrepreneur, and put that aside for now, but will there be change? Of course there's going to be change. Will it be scary people? Yes, it will be scary. Over the last 100 years, 1900 to today, we had World War I, World War II, the Depression, Spanish flu. 150 million people died. But would anybody here argue that the world is not better today on so many levels than it was 100 years ago? Perspective. Your job is to be real, but to help people change their perspective of how incredibly fortunate they are, and to reinvent how we live our lives. Trying to hold it steady like we can't change is a fool's errand. Embracing the future and how do we uplift humanity is where we should be heading. Next question. Yeah, please.
So of the many startups that you're in right now, which one are you most excited about and why? That's the first question. Second, if you were to start a company tomorrow, what would you do and why would you choose exactly that?
Wow, okay, great questions. So I'm still enamored with the X Prize Foundation and Singularity University. I'm spending a lot of time in my longevity companies, right? Cellularity, which is in the stem cell business, a new company called Fountain, which we haven't disclosed yet. So I love what I'm doing. I'm a kid. The most important thing is to find something that allows you to be childlike and to have fun and to imagine and to play, right? Because doing anything big and bold in the world is hard. It takes a long time, and if you get to play versus suffer, that's a better thing. Where would I go? I guess the question, and you've heard the conversations here at Singularity University, what is your massively transformative purpose? What do you love to do? So for me, it's always been space. It's been helping entrepreneurs go 10x or 100x bigger, and it's been longevity. So I'd probably do something in that arena. Obviously, unless you've been asleep, playing in the machine learning and neural network space is amazing. How do you find access to more data and create some insight that was not had before? But I think about, what is the impact you want to leave on the planet? What is the problem you want to solve? That you can say, I solved that. I moved the needle on that. And I think ultimately it's what's in your heart and your soul there that's the most important thing. So I probably would go back to space. I'd probably do something else in space. I'm doing plenty of longevity right now. Anyway, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. So as a founder who is coming from a place of abundant mindset, who's playing the long game, how do you evangelize or how do you inspire? What are the top 3 things that you would recommend when navigating teams or a community or nation or the world level where they're still in the mindset of survival?
Great question. I think, first of all, connecting what your company is doing and who you are as a CEO or a leader to a massively transformative purpose, right? An emotional energy. Tony Robbins is a dear friend, and I've got companies and efforts going with him, and I learn from him. And everything we do at the end of the day has got to be connected to some kind of an emotional energy. Either a love, or on the other end, a hatred, or upset, or whatever the case might be, right? It's that connecting to an emotional energy is what drives you, empowers you through. It's like, I refuse to let this disease go a day longer, all right? Or this is what I want to create in my life, and this is the passion I have, and I want to do that. And when you can communicate that level of energy and passion to your team and empower them so that they feel like they're changing the world, that is probably, for me, the most important thing that you can do. So how do you create a culture of that, right? So I have a group I call the Abundance Group, which is my sort of version of the Virgin Group, whatever. It's where I do my startups in, and I have a team of a dozen individuals in the Abundance Group. I used to call it PhD Ventures, but and we have a set of values, right? And it's one of the values is no quick hits, right? And we will prioritize doing something big and bold and changing the world versus a quick hit. And so it's creating a set of values that's going to guide your organization. And when we open up every meeting in the morning, we go around the room and we do a positive mindset where someone speaks up and says what they're excited about, what's turning them on, and then they will point at one of the 8 values and say, this is the value that I'm aiming towards. So creating an organization that's agile and small and value-driven, and I think is important, and being able to remind yourself of that. Yeah, because I guarantee you, if you're trying to do anything big and bold, you're going to fail over and over and over again. I have. I failed hundreds of times on the road to success. And you only fail when you give up and stop. And so to overcome that failure means you have to reach deep inside and say, why was I doing this in the first place? What is that guiding star? And sometimes, by the way, it's okay to say, someone else is taking care of it. I'm going to refocus my MTP or my moonshot over here. Please.
Speaking about the morality point that you talk about, now that we have, or you have actually enabled with New Space, the capacity for humans to actually go to become a multiplanetary species.
Yes.
I think we need to, or what is your take on creating a moral code for the entire humankind before we go to other planets and we kind of like mess them up? Like, how can we, or what is your take on creating this moral super ultra code that is going to apply for everybody in the planet before we go to other planets?
So that's a great question, and I don't think we need to go to other planets to create those values, those moral codes. When I think about where we're going to have a chance to explore this, it used to be that you would go and take over a country, or you would go and take over an area of land that you thought was empty, but of course it wasn't. There were native peoples there that you were oppressing. And so where can you go and experiment with new forms of government? I think, yes, we will see that in space. But I think before we see that in space, we'll see that in virtual worlds. So I think one of the places that I am playing, in fact, I'm going from here up to San Francisco right now to spend the afternoon with Philip Rosedale, who was the creator of Second Life and High Fidelity, and I think we're going to start to see all of us have multiple citizenships. I am an American citizen, my sister is a Greek citizen, but I may have a multitude of virtual citizenships, places where I go, and independent of where I was born and what language I speak, which is what was your default mode, right? I was born in this little village, I spoke this, my parents taught me this, and that limited who I was and what I could do. In the future, I'll be able to find a group of peers who are passionate about abundance, or passionate about blockchain, or passionate about whatever, and recreate my community, and set our own values and ethics and morals, and navigate in that regard. And I want you to imagine a future in which there are thousands of governance experiments going on. And when we go and settle in on Mars or asteroids or wherever, we'll have seen a multitude of experiments going on. But honestly, you have to remember that we're seeing a fraction of 1% of the change we're going to see in the next 20 years. Because if you believe folks like Ray Kurzweil and Elon Musk and the folks at Kernel, Brian Johnson and Zuckerberg, who are all investing what will be billions of dollars in a brain-computer interface, then the fundamentals of how we interact with each other and how we govern is going to be massively different, right? Each of us is a collection of 100 trillion cells that make you and you and you. 100 trillion cells. Each is a life form. And each of them work in collaboration. I don't take out a knife and stab my arm because I don't like it, right? At the end of the day, it's me. And as it does something, it serves me. And as one cell in my pancreas does something, it serves me. And so if we become a meta-intelligence of 8 billion people connected together, and you learn something, and because of what you learn, I learned something, then it's a very different set of governance principles. So layer on top of that AI, I mean, I think the whole notion of how we interrelate and how we govern is about to get multiple reinvention layers coming on.
You spoke earlier about the importance of the emotional energy that we have, and
I think let's make this the last question, probably. Yeah.
With the singularity, will artificial intelligence have something comparable to our emotional energy that drives us to want to explore?
It's a great question, and we'll find out. I mean, I'm not sure what else to say other than there are many companies working on emotional AIs, right? And the notion that when we think of an AI, our linear brain projected an AI to be a non-emotional entity that was sort of a computer. But if all of a sudden my AIs have an emotional element to them and they can engage, we're going to find out what it fundamentally means to be human. You know, if I make my version of Alexa cry, am I going to feel sad about that? And will I start to think of it or her or whatever in a way that is much more connected? I mean, these are. I'm clear that we're going to be reinventing almost everything. It's the day before something is truly a breakthrough, it's a crazy idea, right? So where are we examining all of these crazy ideas? And for me, that's what makes it so much fun to be an entrepreneur. The chains are taking off of reality for you. There is nothing you can't explore or can't do. It's the most exciting time ever to be alive. And so your job is to reinvent what's possible and to have fun with it. You know, one of the things in the early days of SU, I went and I drew a line over here. We were having a debate at SU about should we help companies that are making real money in the beginning or making companies that are trying to impact 1 billion people. And then I went to the board and I sort of drew the line. I said, we really want to have companies that have a real business early on, but are building a business has the potential to impact 1 billion lives. Because if you can, why wouldn't you want to? That's the world we're living in today. And I see entrepreneurs as the means by which we make the world a better place. The number of people solving problems, finding problems and solving problems is what is amazing. So, like I started, you guys have a super exciting time ahead. I am thankful and excited to see what Monique tells me about coming out of this program. So Anyway, a pleasure, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Could we do one quick photo with the whole group before you run out?
Where do you want me?
Just right in front of the group.
Fine.
Yeah.
Everybody come forward if you want to get closer.